Why do I feel anxious for no reason? The real answer. Well, today we're going to get straight to the core, highly informative science and figure this out together. Because, let's be honest, we are tackling a deeply terrifying, yet incredibly common mystery here. We're looking at that sudden, unexplained panic that just seems to come out of absolutely nowhere. You know exactly the feeling, right? One moment, everything is completely fine, and the next, your body is just entirely overwhelmed.
Picture this. You're sitting perfectly safe on your couch. Maybe you're just reading a book or scrolling on your phone, minding your own business. And then suddenly, your heart starts racing. Your chest gets tight, your breath gets really shallow, and this profound sense of doom just washes right over you. You look around and there's no threat. There's literally no fire, no intruder, no immediate danger whatsoever. So what actually happens when your body's survival alarm rings, but there's no fire? Well, to understand this super frustrating and exhausting experience, we kind of have to look past our thoughts and dive directly into our biology.
All right, part 1. Inside your anxious brain.
To really reframe how we view anxiety, we have to recognize it for what it is. It's a brilliantly evolved survival mechanism. It is hardwired right into our nervous system to keep us alive. The problem? Well, it's simply that this ancient, life-saving alarm system has accidentally misfired. And to understand that, we need to look deep inside the brain at this tiny almond-shaped structure called the amygdala. Think of the amygdala as your brain's primary threat detector, and it is incredibly fast. It processes fear and kicks off a survival response milliseconds before your conscious thinking brain even registers what is going on. But for people with chronic anxiety, the amygdala basically becomes hyperactive. It acts exactly like a faulty smoke detector. It gets way too sensitive, and it fails to tell the difference between genuine, life-threatening dangers and completely harmless stuff, like a loud noise or a stressful email.
And when that hyperactive amygdala senses a threat, whether it's real or entirely imagined, it triggers the autonomic response. Boom. Your sympathetic nervous system floods your bloodstream with adrenaline and cortisol. This is that classic fight or flight cascade. Your heart races to pump blood to your limbs, your muscles tense up getting ready for action, you start sweating to cool down, and your breathing gets really shallow and rapid. Basically, your body's doing exactly what it was designed to do to survive a literal predator. Except, you're just trying to get through a normal Tuesday afternoon. Which brings us to part 2, anxiety or hidden trauma.
Now, this is absolutely crucial. A massive body of clinical research suggests that chronic, unexplained panic might actually be an unhealed wound. This comparison really nails the distinction. Generalized anxiety is typically future-oriented, right? It's the what-ifs. What if I lose my job? What if I get sick? It's your brain acting as a predictive processor, trying to anticipate future catastrophes. But trauma-induced anxiety, that is past-oriented. Your nervous system is literally trapped in survival mode, reliving historical distress right here in the present moment. And the crazy part is, you might not even have a conscious memory of the trigger. It could just be a specific tone of voice, a certain smell, or a subtle change in your environment that causes your body to react to a past threat as if it is happening right now.
This brings us to a fascinating and honestly exhausting phenomenon called safety lag. This is that profound disconnect between your cognitive, logical brain and your autonomic nervous system. Your logical brain looks around the living room and says, hey, we're safe, but your nervous system is utterly convinced of an imminent threat. And this right here is exactly why you feel so utterly exhausted from hypervigilance. Your eyes dart around the room, your jaw is clenched tight, and your shoulders are practically up by your ears because your body fundamentally does not believe your mind's safety report. So why does this massive disconnect happen? Well, we have to look at the hippocampus. Think of the hippocampus as your brain's time stamper. It takes memories and puts them into a neat little context. It tells your brain, hey, that scary thing happened in the past, it's over now. But chronic stress and a constant flood of cortisol actually damage the hippocampus. It physically reduces its volume. And when the brain loses its time stamper, those uncontextualized past memories suddenly feel like immediate, present dangers. Your prefrontal cortex, which is the logical, rational part of your brain, basically loses its ability to step in and shut down the panic.
Okay, let's switch gears to the good news. Part 3, how to rewire your brain. The absolute best news about neuroplasticity is that your nervous system isn't hardwired to stay stuck forever. No way. We can actually hit the biological reset button, and we can do it using free, evidence-based, at-home tools that speak directly to your physiology. I really love this quote from Dr. David Spiegel over at Stanford Medicine. He says, what's interesting about the breath is that it's right on the edge of conscious control. because breathing happens automatically, right? Just like your digestion or your heartbeat. But unlike your digestion, you can consciously take over your breath at any second. And when you do, you literally manually override your body's automatic physiological freakout. In fact, a recent groundbreaking study from Stanford tested exactly how to do this most effectively.
The study identified a specific pattern, and it's called cyclic sighing. Let's actually try this right now together. I'll pace you. First, take a nice, comfortable inhale through your nose. Now take a quick second sip of air to fully expand those lungs. And finally, exhale very, very slowly through your mouth until all the air is completely gone. Do you feel that? That slight drop in tension? By emphasizing and prolonging the exhale, you're actually increasing pressure in your chest, which slows your heart rate down and directly activates your soothing parasympathetic nervous system.
Now, the time commitment required for this is just fascinating. The Stanford researchers found that doing that exact cyclic sighing exercise for just 5 minutes a day created profound changes. 5 minutes! It significantly lowered participants' resting breathing rate, and not just during the exercise, but throughout the entire day. It created this amazing lasting effect of overall body calmness, actively pushing back against that chronic state of hypervigilance.
And the data backs this up beautifully. The researchers compared 5 minutes of cyclic sighing to 5 minutes of passive mindfulness meditation. And while mindfulness is absolutely great, the controlled breath work actually outperformed it. Look at this. When measuring the daily improvement in positive feelings, things like joy, peacefulness, energy, the cyclic sighing group scored a 1.91 improvement compared to just 1.22 for the meditation group. By actively controlling your breathing, you're providing a much more rapid, direct intervention to your physiology than if you were just passively observing your thoughts.
This biological approach also builds perfectly into another really powerful tool for acute panic, which is the 5-4-3-2-1 grounding technique. When you're in the middle of a huge anxiety spike, your brain is just spinning out of control into the past or the future. This sensory countdown physically forces your brain to stop threat scanning and anchors it right back into the objective present. You actively look for 5 things you can visually see, 4 things you can reach out and touch, 3 things you can hear in the room, 2 things you can smell, and 1 thing you can taste. It demands cognitive focus, which effectively changes the channel in your brain.
So, what do these tools actually have in common? Well, they both activate the parasympathetic nervous system. Think of it like this. If the sympathetic nervous system is the gas pedal that triggers fight or flight, the parasympathetic system is your body's built-in brake pedal for panic. Both cyclic sighing and sensory grounding are physical, biological ways to communicate with that hyperactive amygdala. You aren't just trying to think positive thoughts, you are sending a literal, physiological message to your brain that the danger has officially passed.
As we wrap up this explainer, I want to leave you with a final, provocative question to reflect on the very next time that sudden wave of panic hits. Ask yourself, is my body reacting to a present danger, or is it just remembering a past threat? Because by understanding your biology, you step right out of the fear and back into the driver's seat. You have the tools, right there in your breath and your senses, to tell your nervous system that you are safe. Keep exploring. Keep learning about your remarkable body, and I'll catch you in the next explainer.